If there's a trait I find with anxious attachment men, is they find the need to prove their growth to their wife. Welcome back to the Secure Husband Podcast. Bruce Abbott, certified professional coach and founder of SecureHusband.com. I hope you're enjoying this month-long podcast series on attachment styles. I was putting out podcasts every 2 days. I've kind of slowed that down to about every 4 days. You may have noticed that if you subscribe. There's just a lot going on. There's a lot of coaching, working with a lot of men's groups, and starting to get some group classes going here in the next month or so. But I want to continue this podcast series on attachment styles and why anxious attachment men feel that they have to prove their progress, prove their growth, and why this oversharing actually damages emotional safety in your marriage. Because anxious attachment men, we need external validation. We struggle with that. So what happens is as we start growing and as we start healing, we're doing better, we're getting calmer, we're stronger, we're more intentional. Even without even realizing this, we feel this urge to tell her, hey, I hung out with the guys today. I got an invite to go play poker this weekend. I got an invite from the men's group because we're going to have a barbecue this weekend and I was invited. And you're telling her this not to let her know, but what you're trying to communicate to her is, look, honey, I'm developing male friendships. Or, hey, babe, I handled that conversation really well. Or, honey, did you notice that I didn't get reactive just now? Did you notice how I'm working on myself? You feel the need to share these things, but you're not sharing them from a grounded place. There's that little inner child inside of you saying, hey, do you see me now? Do you see I'm becoming a better man? Do you see that I'm worth choosing again? And this can be hard because what we feel is healthy openness comes off as pressure to an avoidant partner. And it's so frustrating because your anxious attachment is reaching out to be seen. Because you're lonely, you feel unseen, but her avoidant attachment's pulling back to feel safe. Two nervous systems, each trying to survive, going in opposite directions. And it seems like something that's innocent. But why do anxious men feel the need to overshare? We have to look at healing the part of us that's desperately needing to be validated. Anxious attachment men feel compelled to share everything. There's always one question that's underneath the surface all the time. Am I enough? That's the root of oversharing. It's a survival pattern that we've been talking about. Remember, anxious men, we learned early that being seen meant being safe. Being acknowledged means being loved. If you're noticed, then you're being valued. And if you're not being noticed, well, then you're somehow unworthy. And when you start the healing process, you do this work and you start changing, and your nervous system wants to show her, look, honey, you want to prove that you're improving. Yeah, I want to demonstrate, look how lovable I am now. Oversharing isn't vulnerability. You're trying to manipulate. Oversharing is performance for reassurance. It's the adult version of that little boy saying, look what I did. Don't you love me? You're not trying to manipulate her. You're trying to calm the panic that's inside of you. You're trying to soothe that little boy inside. Because your anxious nervous system is saying, connection makes me safe. Her avoidance system is saying, distance makes me safe. You share because you're wanting to create closeness, and she distances to regulate that overwhelming feeling she has. So when you tell her about your progress or your friendships or your new behavior or your spiritual growth or any of these things, she doesn't hear, look at me getting better. She hears, please validate me. Please comfort my insecurity. Please make me feel like I'm enough. And avoidant partners feel smothered by that emotional responsibility. No, it's not fair. But it's reality. They feel cornered by these expectations and pressured by the needs that they didn't cause, and they don't know how to meet them or heal them. So what do avoidant partners do when they feel that pressure? They shut down, they retreat, they pull away. It's not because your growth isn't real. Don't get me wrong. And this is not to shame or blame or guilt. It's just the emotional weight behind the sharing feels very heavy for her. Your anxious attachment is saying, see me, and her avoidant attachment is saying, whoa, this is just too much. Neither of you are wrong. Your nervous system's just speaking two different languages here. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. And I'm going to say that oversharing, this is subconscious. You don't realize you're doing this. But I'm going to call oversharing self-abandonment. Because when you tell her everything, you're not connecting, but you're outsourcing your worth. You're placing your progress, your growth, your healing, and the scorecard of how well you're healing in her hands, saying, tell me I'm on the right track, or tell me I'm becoming the man you want. Tell me I'm good now. Tell me I'm worthy of your attention, affection, love. It's self-abandonment because you're letting her reaction define your value. You're giving her power that she doesn't want. You're making her nervous system responsible for your healing and seeking reassurance instead of self-trust. Because if she responds positively, yeah, you feel great. You feel safe. You feel validated. If she doesn't respond the way you hoped, you spiral. You emotionally just crash. That's what anxious attachment does. It looks outside for inner security. And meanwhile, avoidant attachment women feel suffocated, even though that's not the intention. This is why the anxious avoidance cycle feels so frustrating. You overshare to feel close. She withdraws to feel safe. Then you feel rejected. You share more. You try harder. She distances more. Both of you feel misunderstood. Again, two wounded nervous systems trying to survive in different ways. Because that urge to prove yourself didn't start with your wife. It's that inner child, that inner boy I talk about in every single podcast. It started as a kid when you learned that affection had to be earned. Attention wasn't guaranteed. That emotional connection that you needed as a child depended somehow on performance. The approval from a parent or caregiver was conditional, and the love, affection, attention was inconsistent. Again, now as a grown man, every time you say, look at me, see me, what you're really saying is, please don't leave me. Because as a child, that's abandonment. You don't understand it as abandonment, but when you are self-centered as a child, and I don't mean that as a negative thing, just when we're children, our world revolves around us, and we don't understand what's going on. Danger feels like abandonment when you're young. You're saying, don't leave me, don't give up on me. Really don't confirm my worst fear that I am unworthy and you will abandon me. That's why her reaction, your wife's reaction, always feels like a gut punch. It's not her that you're reacting to. It's triggering that little boy inside of you who never felt seen and is trying to feel seen through oversharing with your wife. That's why it hurts so much, because she didn't respond how you hoped. And that little boy inside feels abandoned all over again. How do you handle this? You don't have to be perfect. Just be grounded. Live by a completely different principle that your growth is yours. My growth is mine. Your growth is yours. My identity, it's mine. My worth comes from something bigger. God, truth, character, integrity. It's not from your validation or from being witnessed. This is why it is so important to self-validate. When you self-validate, you share less with her, but you embody that feeling more. So you don't say, hey, look, babe, I'm getting more male friends to live a fuller, healthier life. But you say that to yourself. Hey, yeah, I'm developing male friendships. Iron sharpens iron. And you don't have to share that transformation to your wife, but you feel it. You live it. You embody it. And what happens from there is you learn that you don't have to perform to change her perception. You grow because it's who you want to become. It honors who you believe is worthy. You. And you don't need her reassurance. You become your own emotional leader. And yeah, let her observe. She'll see your male friendships. She'll see that you're not as reactive anymore. She'll see that you're grounded. She'll see these things. Let her observe it at her own pace without pressure. You don't have to point it out. Avoidant partners, they trust action. They don't trust words. They will see things. They will feel that different energy. And you stop handing her your emotional progress as proof. Because no one needs to keep score. But you can pat yourself on the back. and self-validate. And that allows your nervous system to regulate itself without needing to share, without seeking reassurance or seeking that closeness. That's what breaks the anxious avoidant loop. I found myself doing this all the time. I'm still guilty of doing it now and then. Start by noticing. Be aware. Just notice when the urge to share is coming from insecurity or maybe even fear, and then choose. Make a choice to remain grounded instead of just verbally vomiting, spilling your inner world onto her. Just take a deep breath. She'll see. She'll notice. You don't need to share. And soothe that inner child inside, that younger part of you who's afraid of being unseen and unloved. And just tell him, you're safe. You don't need approval. And reach out to that spiritual guidance. Let God, the universe, spirit, whatever your belief system is, anchor your worth so your wife doesn't have to. And then from there, you dialogue with that divine guidance. What is my next loving action? Loving to me, loving to her. How can I be consistent, be calm, be steady, and let my behavior speak and not my words? And then you can evaluate it. Did I share something to connect if I did share? Or did I share it to feel validated? Because the oversharing is not necessary. You don't have to prove who you're becoming. You don't have to earn love. You don't have to perform for acceptance. You don't have to demonstrate your progress like a scoreboard. How was my report card this week? No. You don't have to give a play-by-play of your growth for her to notice. You don't have to say, hey, look at me now. No, because real secure growth, it's internal. It's quiet. It's steady. It's grounded. And again, when you stop trying to show her who you're becoming and just become, that energy changes. She starts to feel it. Your worth was never meant to be discussed and proven and witnessed to be in existence there. It was just meant to be you, lived, secure, grounded. The moment that you stop seeking validation, you start embodying the man that you want to become. So stop oversharing and just be. Show through actions. That's masculine leadership. And that's how healing continues. Not through performance, but through peace. That's how you become more grounded and calm and secure. And that is also the beginning of reconnection. So I hope this podcast was helpful for you. I hope you're enjoying this month-long series on attachment styles. Hey, share this podcast with someone who you think may need to hear this. Subscribe if you don't already. Give me a review. It would help other men find this podcast for their own healing. And if you need accountability, I encourage you to reach out to securehusband.com and fill out the form for a free 30-minute consultation, just a conversation to see how I might be able to help you out. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next Secure Husband podcast.